Hi, everyone. My name is Bill Deverell. I am the director of the Huntington-USC Institute on California and the West, a formal partnership and collaboration between the Huntington Library, Art Museum, and Botanical Gardens and USC's Dornsife Letters of Arts and Sciences. I'm sorry I can't be with you all in person. I'm grateful for the invitation that came by way of my friend Felix Gutierrez. And when I said that I was going to be in the Grand Tetons when you all are meeting, Felix kindly invited me to record a set of very brief remarks about your annual meeting, and particularly the Adobe Flores. So I'm really pleased to be asked to do that. Thank you, Felix. It's nice to be working together again on the basis of having worked together so productively in the past. When I was a freshman in college, in the first quarter of freshman year, I talked my way into a class on American society and culture up to 1850. The professor was terrifying, but he let me in. And the very first day of class, we sat in one of those small amphitheaters, cantilevered up a little bit from the entrance up to a set of theater seating. And the very first day of class, the professor, before he took to the podium, he walked around the room and made sure that all the windows that opened up out onto the quadrangle were closed. And he made sure that the two doors that led into the classroom on either side of the podium were closed tightly with an audible click. I remember thinking as I sat there, my first week of class, that is so strange, but it's kind of cool. And over the course of that term, in a class that reshaped me, I learned why the professor had done that. It was his way of sealing off the present from the past. And in this case, a deep past, a 17th and 18th century and early 19th century American past. He wanted, in essence, for that room to become a time machine that was transported back to colonial New England, to indigenous Great Lakes societies, to the American South, to the implantation and growth of enslaved labor across the continent. And he wanted to chase away as much as he could the concerns of daily life on the part of his undergraduate students. Now, that was before phones and before laptops and before other kinds of electronic distractions. And even though it struck me as odd, I came to appreciate it, so much so that now I do something very similar in my classes, to the point of oftentimes asking students to surrender or not even bring their laptops or their phones to class. Now, the reason that worked so well, I think, is that that professor, and I hope me in my modest attempts to be as spellbinding as he was, knew that the things that connect us to the past are so few and so fragile that the ability to reach backwards in time to try to understand the lives, motivations, trials and tribulations, triumphs of people before us is almost an exercise that could be described as a fool's errand, almost. Because of course we can't know, but there is that necklace, very fragile necklace of documents, frail human memories, material culture, the built environment, homes, that can bring us back in the past to have some glimpse of what it might have been like, to have some appreciation built upon our intrinsic fascination with the things of the past, to have some appreciation of why this or that happened, to have some ability to create intentionality, causation, consequence, and of course, context. That's so interesting to me because, as you all know as well as I do, nearly every single thing that was created by our ancestors is gone and has been gone for a long time. But some things endure. Adobe Flores is one of them. And I'm speaking to you from my 100-year-old mission-style home in Pasadena, just up the road. I am so fascinated by the Adobe landscape that remains in our lives and in our midst, sometimes hiding, sometimes lesser known, sometimes in preservation trouble. But the ability to have tactile and tangible appreciation for what was constructed in the past, what took place within the walls of this or that building, it's magical. Not that we're going to figure it out. When I first became trained as a historian of the West in California, I had professors who would say that the secularization period and the post-mission period and the Mexican period was simply too complicated to try to figure out because of regime changes, because of the movements of small groups of troops to go take on this or that other leader in a kind of skirmish activity that may have taken place near Monterey or maybe Los Angeles or maybe in San Diego or maybe inland, that it was just layer upon layer upon layer of confusion. And when I was young, I thought, okay, I'll just follow that direction. But now I think that's just absolutely silly advice, because just because something's confusing and chaotic is no reason not to try to figure it out. So here we are with a nearly 200-year-old Adobe that speaks to the lives and landscapes that came before us, trying to figure things out, perhaps putting that Adobe at the very center of an inquiry. Why was it put where it was put? Where was the water source? What was the agricultural and horticultural landscape in and around that spot? What was the relationship with the various inhabitants of this place with the indigenous people who, of course, are still here? So using the tactile presence of a place is a profound way to reach back into the past and then try to accompany that fascination with being in situ in a place like this, to try to accompany that with painstaking documentary research. What regime changes can be accounted for that may explain the various dramas that took place in and around this place? And what's so fascinating about this is evergreen historical, scavenger hunt, historical treasure hunt. This is for 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds and 8th graders and 11th graders and college students and graduate students and the community and people who live near this place or people who live far, far away. This is, call it what you will, public, private, partnership, outreach, civic engagement. This is what it's all about. And for a Preservation Foundation to take it so seriously and to understand the power of place and the complex layers of California history, you deserve nothing but congratulations. I invite you all to engage with the programs of the Institute on California in the West, not simply because I think we oftentimes bring forward programs that people can learn from, but the opposite side of the coin as well. Your engagement with what we're doing, we learn from you. This is all about bringing knowledge outside that hermetically sealed classroom into the public based on our shared fascination with a multi-layered, diverse, rich past. Acknowledging that past, acknowledging the sheer diversity of lives, experiences, backgrounds of those that came before us, strikes me as absolutely required for us to pay homage and be allegiant and be respectful of the layers of diversity and the multiplicity of lives in our landscapes in 2023 and beyond. We are connected to the past. It's a flimsy tie, but it's a real tie. And it's places like this that remind us that the past is everywhere around us. So I'm sorry I can't be with you. Thank you so much, Felix, for inviting me. I urge you all, please feel free to reach out to me if we can build some kind of collaborative rapport about shared fascination with place in the greater Southern California basin. And I want to just pay respect to the work you've all done. Over time, the owners of this place, those that have stewarded it one way or another, that kind of collaboration is powerful. And you can see that it works. Thank you.